Okay, welcome everybody to the Reparations Commission planning call for November. The date is November 8th, and this is our regularly scheduled monthly call where we discuss the previously held meeting as well as the upcoming meeting and any additional uh, ads that we have that will assist us in our work. We are very close to the end. You can see the light, at least the A light at the end of the tunnel. So we're almost, we're on the downside of this research. So if there's a motion to officially adopt the agenda that I shared, I hope everybody got the agenda as well.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we are
This is
good to
Kim.
go. Hi, hey, Commissioner Franks. We are
Evening.
good. Okay. So in jumping into the agenda, I've welcomed you to this call. The public meeting that we had last was held on Saturday, October 28th, and that was held at the Sun Theater. And so we'll start with some of the things that went well and some of the feedback from that meeting that might be able to inform our work. So whoever wants to start. Okay. Were there any comments that stood out perhaps from the meeting, or anything for us to maybe that worked well, or anything that we just kind of want to have on our radar that from that meeting? We can jump to what didn't work too. We can combine this question.
Yeah, I think the presentation, I forgot the professor's name.
Jeff Ward. Professor Ward.
Yeah, the Ward went extremely well. One of the things that I did appreciate that he offered was as people from the community were posing questions, he was transparent about the areas that he couldn't speak to, and that he wanted to stay in focus of what his expertise and work. And so I did appreciate that, and he didn't just try to give an answer because a question was posed.
Commissioner Anthony, can you share what his topic was that he discussed in that meeting?
Oh God, days have gone by.
So,
yeah. Maybe someone else can help with that posture. With that question.
Yeah, I mean, he was so among other things, Dr. Ward directs the WashU and Slavery Project. And so he talked a lot about how the history of enslavement is kind of encoded on the landscape in St. Louis. And so thinking about the legacies of that history and the different ways that we can see it in the community. And so he talked about the research work that's really important to do to really understand the scope and the scale of what's occurred in the past. And, that was something that there was a little bit of, I think, productive pushback around, like back and forth about, how much do we know and how important is it to learn more versus act. But he was really pushing the importance of continuing with research and other work to really uncover these histories fully. And he touched on histories of violence and how those are being addressed in the city, and those kinds of legacies too. So, and I would echo Commissioner Anthony that I thought it was a really effective presentation. He was really thoughtful about wanting to get certain things on the record, and so like making sure he was comprehensive about them. And we left him up there for quite a while this time, which I know some of our speakers, we've gotten them off the podium there. So as Commissioner Anthony saying, he was fielding questions kind of alongside the commission as people were testifying afterwards.
Okay, and I just want to acknowledge that Chair Reed is here now, and Chair Reed, we are going over what went well, what could be improved following the last meeting from October 28th. So we're doing a debrief. So I will hand over to you officially. I'm passing the gavel back to you, but also just want to continue with the question of what worked, what didn't, and debriefing that meeting.
I believe you're still muted.
Yeah. Apologies for being late. I just drove back from Columbia, so just walked in my house for the first time since this morning.
Commissioner Reed, it's good to see you. And you've gotten over the COVID or whatever.
Yes, I am feeling much better. I did not have COVID, but I was sick. So
Okay.
I guess the cold still is a real present thing that people can get in the world of COVID. But thank you for that. I appreciate all the well wishes. So yeah, public meeting 7. Let's continue to debrief it. What went well? Where were there areas of improvement?
I think if I recall correctly, there seemed to be a mix-up about the time for the event. Don't know why that why that happened, but participants from the community were slow gathering on Saturday. I don't know if people just didn't get the message of a time change or what that was, but we did have that particular issue Saturday.
Yeah.
I think we did have a smaller than usual
Yeah.
audience, but it might be because the venue, the auditorium was so huge. And so it maybe just looked
Yeah.
like it was there, but it really was fewer people, I think, than usual. I don't know what other people think about that.
Yeah, I also think some of the contributing factors to that were just how late in the game we secured the venue, so we didn't get to do as much outreach as we normally do because we were sort of we were late to find a space, which we don't have that issue this month, but the meeting's a week earlier than normal. And so we have now less than a week actually, or a week exactly ahead of the 8th public meeting. So I think that contributed to it for sure. Anything else we want to discuss about public meeting 7? Okay. Then shall we move to public meeting 8? We have a date, we have a time, we have a location. So we're already, in a different place than we were before. I will send out the graphic for promotion tonight after I make it, or see if it got made from a member of my team. And I'll share that with you all. The Action St. Louis team has been doing phone banking in the neighborhood surrounding Deaconess in that ward to increase turnout, and of course phone banking those who have come to a previous reparations event. So we're hoping that turnout for this upcoming meeting will be robust, as this is our last in-person meeting of the year. Any questions about date, time, location, or turnout plan?
And is the time going to be 1 or is it going to be 2?
This is an evening meeting. So
it's an evening meeting. Okay.
Yeah, so we're Wednesday, November
6th.
Yeah. Alicia, can you just verify for everyone the date and time? Because I don't have it in front of me.
That is correct. It's November 15th at 6 p.m.
And the location is the Deaconess Center for Child Wellbeing
Mhm.
1000 North Vandervander.
We'll be in the community room,
The justice room.
justice room.
It's like, what's the community
The
room?
justice room is the community room. So
Okay.
yeah, the justice room.
Got you.
You know where to go when you get there.
Yes, the big room.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions about time, location? I have to tell you in advance, I will not be stateside next week. So I'm missing my third meeting, but I've already informed Vice Chair. It really is because we moved the meeting to an earlier time and work continues to get, I would rather do this, trust me. But I will not be there next week. Are there any other folks who will not be at the Wednesday, November 15th reparations meeting? Just so we can plan accordingly with the agenda. Great. Well, then everyone will be there except me. That'll be fine. It'll be great. Okay. And so we are just an update around, so there are a couple things we need to do. One is just like go through what we're planning for public meeting 8 and then have some updates from our working groups. What we were planning for public meeting number 8 was to actually have a speaker, our last speaker for the year, as we prepare to pivot the conversation to more focused on the drafting of the report and getting feedback from the community on the sections that we're writing, which we'll give an update for later. But David, could you give an update on our process thus far around identifying a speaker for our next public meeting?
Sure, yeah, and this still remains in process. We initially, based on our last meeting, we identified Michelle Purdy as a first choice. We were interested in, you might recall, we were interested in someone who could focus on education in the city and region. And Michelle Purdy is a professor in education here at WashU, has done really important work in that area. She was very gracious in terms of our invitation. She's actually on sabbatical from WashU now and is not able to speak, but she suggested someone at SLU named Dr. Jerome Morris, who I think I don't know at all. I don't think Kayla was familiar with him directly either. But Michelle recommended him highly. Looks like his work is really important in this area. And so we reached out to him, I think Monday afternoon, and have not yet heard back. So I can, in the morning, if we still haven't heard back, I can reach out again and try to follow up. I know we're within a week of our meeting, so I wish we had more certainty at this point, but we can try to follow up really soon after this in hopes of solidifying that plan. And I don't know if we'd want to talk about a plan B. I don't know what we'd think of as a plan B in terms of other speakers or thinking about not having a speaker if this didn't work out, but there's some uncertainty at this point.
Thank you, David. Yeah, so the topic that we were hoping to cover again was education. I think previously we had discussed a couple other options. So we are, as always, as a Reparations Commission, we fixed the problem of space and time, and now we are, having some issues booking our speaker. If we're not able to book our speaker, we had sort of ideated around using this meeting to really present what we had talked about December actually being the meeting where we sort of present an outline to the public of the reparations report and outline, report and recommendation outline structure. Doing that next week, I think will be a little complicated just because the working group has only met once. And so are there other topics of discussion that we want to think about and consider, or other speakers that we want to pursue?
Um, Chair Reed, might we, if we don't have a speaker, maybe share more about reparations efforts that have taken place across the nation and kind of historically, just kind of give some context around that, because I'm not sure that we've really, as a commission, shared efforts that have come forth in other places. So maybe just to give some context about how this works. I also think that there might be clarity needed around how the commission was formed and really understanding we're not a state commission. And so there may be a misunderstanding among some of what exactly we are able to recommend and who that affects and kind of how that works. So we could also use that time to share, I think, um, what that looks like too.
Yeah, what do folks think about that as a alternative if we don't hear back from the professor?
I think that's a great idea. It's Kim. To just like use kind of we're at this maybe midway point to give people a chance to reorient things. I yeah.
Okay. Do we have a particular commission member who would like to lead that conversation? Because that would require someone from our group to take on that.
I'm happy to prepare what that could look like. And yeah, I'm happy to take the lead on that. And any additional commissioners who want to work with me on that are welcome to. Happy to.
I can help.
Okay. I'll connect with you after the meeting, Commissioner.
Okay.
And yeah, I appreciate you taking the lead. I can try to help as well with some of the preparation. I'll see you on Friday. Maybe we could touch base after that. Anything I can do to be helpful.
Yeah, so I think there are like 3 things that we want to do. One, based on this, right? And this is perhaps we do both things, even if we get the speaker, right? Because or we can save this presentation for December. But I think, you know, we need to really live inside of the resolution around like the definition of reparations as we've been instructed, whether that's using the NCOBRA definition. I think, you know, pointing to local examples versus state examples versus, you know, sort of federal movement around reparations, providing some landscape. I think you have a scale of like Evanston versus California versus what HR 40 is calling for, and what other folks are calling for inside of it. And I think that could be a meaningful 20-minute presentation to then move, you know, the conversation to public comment and responses to both the definition that we're thinking through and you know, the examples that have been laid out. Mahela has done some work to pull together you know, our folder around with the different reports included, common sections that we've seen in the reports, and we can share that as well to help guide the presentation.
That sounds like a plan. I think, or at least it seems to me that the clarity piece is important because but going into meeting 8, and you know sometimes resetting or reminding people after you've done so much work, things get kind of lost after a while, and so I think you know that's a great way to go.
Okay. Any other thoughts about this proposal as an alternate to a presenter?
I just had a suggestion, and I'm not sure what's possible, but I know in Deaconess in the bigger meeting room, there are a lot of screens around the room if that's what we're using, and if it's easier and takes less prep, or even if it takes up just some of the time and it's helpful, we could screen something topical, like a short like YouTube video or something of that nature. That could also be a helpful option. Just something I was thinking.
Yeah, thanks, Mahela. I appreciate that as a recommendation. I definitely think there's lots of information out there on like HR 40, and even some of the other examples of reparations. So perhaps, the working group, and I'm happy to be on the team as far as like prep goes, whether that's like designing the presentation, I can do that from, the plane, or and just helping with an outline for what I think would be a really robust conversation. And it may be worthwhile to think about a different commission member taking on sort of one reparations report and giving sort of a like 2 to 3 minute highlight reel of both the process and then the recommendations. Thinking about, there have been several, close to a dozen local reparations initiatives. Chicago actually just passed legislation to establish a reparations commission. And so we're seeing these things really similar initiatives really take shape across the country. And I think we should speak to some of the questions that we've been pondering, like jurisdiction limitations, funding questions, things like that. And I think the working groups have done some work to really start to think about at least some of the questions that we're considering as a commission, even if we don't have the answers. I think it would be transparent to give the questions that we have. Any thoughts about that? Okay, I will assume silence is agreement. So Delisha, David, and Kim will run point on the presentation. I'm again very happy to help. Mahela is also here for any support that's needed. We need to do a lot of promotion for this meeting. We have a week, so if everyone could just please make sure they're amplifying it through their networks. Again, we've done the necessary, we started doing some outreach to the neighborhood around Deaconess in North City to ensure that residents know that the meeting is happening and where the meeting will be located. And so hopefully that will spur increased turnout from our last meeting. And then David will follow up with the professor from St. Louis University tomorrow if we don't hear back. So I think by Friday we should really have a solid plan about what happens on Wednesday. So if we don't hear from the professor by Friday, then we'll just automatically trigger this plan B. That feel right to everyone?
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you. Okay, so then the next thing we need to talk about is just the working groups. Any updates from the working groups that need to be shared? Working group, community engagement, any updates?
We don't have any updates at this time. We did have a level set meeting last week to get clarity. There were some questions around what exactly we were doing. So we did have that level set meeting. So I think we are good to go in terms of going forth with our work.
Great. And do you all have a schedule for your meetings as a working group?
We don't, but we can get one together.
Great.
We had a schedule, but that didn't work for everybody. So just adjusting that, yeah. So we'll get that as well.
Excellent. I can give an update from our working group, and David, if I forget anything, please chime in. So we met and we have set regular meetings on Wednesdays to meet between the three of us, Dr. Ross, Professor Cunningham, and I. And our first meeting was really great. It was sort of an alignment meeting around what we were hoping for the report. And so, big picture is we don't want to produce a report that is so dense that it becomes inaccessible to the public. And so we're really thinking about both the sort of journey we've been on as a commission, serving as a roadmap to the issues that we want to talk through inside of the report. And so we are finalizing a set of issues that we'll bring to the full commission for approval after our next meeting. But some of those are, of course, housing, economy, public safety, not environment, but like neighborhoods, neighborhood development. I need to find my notes. And there's 6 topics total. And so what we're hoping for in the 6 topics is that we sort of think about each topic as a chapter within this larger report, thinking each section is about 10 pages. The issue area is about 10 pages, and then we build around that report with some of the definitions of reparations, lionizing some of this history of the struggle for reparations in the city of St. Louis, a letter from the commission, land acknowledgements, and other things that we've been, sort of ideating around. And so that the total report is not more than 100 pages. And the reason I think we really agreed on that is if you look at some of the other reports, especially someplace like, California, the report is so huge that even the executive summary is its own report. And so we want to make sure, hi, Dr. Ross.
Hi.
We're debriefing our first meeting as the report working group to the larger group. That's where we are now.
Okay.
And so we are thinking that the report won't be more than 100 pages, really spending intentional time, not recreating the real or, sort of restating things that are existing in other places, but that we sort of give history that is relevant to the conversation around our recommendations, that we provide resources for folks to have continued learning and reading, and that we integrate some personal narrative and specific statistics to St. Louis inside of each of those sections. So for example, when we talk about sort of neighborhoods, I think it would be really impactful to capture the story of some of the attendees who lived in Mill Creek Valley, right? When we talk about sort of neighborhood removal, and some of that already exists, some of that can be newer information that we capture, but wanting to make sure that the report both gives like historical facts, personal narrative, recommendations, and then references for continued learning on that particular issue. We don't want to rewrite a book. We don't, the books and podcasts and lots of resources already exist. And so we want to pull from that, but we also, want this to be something that people in St. Louis will read and go through this journey with us. And so we sort of see that we are responsible for 7 of the 10 pages of each section with the history, recommendations, and references, and that the personal narrative and sort of, the personal narrative section will really be something we pull from the other working group to shape the report. Anything I missed, Dr. Ross or Professor Cunningham?
No, I think that's pretty good. I think we have to start thinking about, we've already started thinking about who will be brought in to really assist with the drafting of those sections. And I think we have a pretty good list already. Well, just parenthetically, before I forget, Adrienne Davis has, as David knows, written also about reparations and I was reading one of her papers from 2008 or 9 or so. And so I think that she also could be brought in to to co-draft or draft independently, not independently, but draft part of that along with others who have identified. So I think we're going to have a very good, very deep bench of writers.
Yeah. Any questions for the three of us from the rest of the commission about what we've discussed so far regarding the report structure?
I do want to say thank you for sharing that outline in terms of the work that your working group will be doing.
Yeah, thank you.
The other working group to stay focused in on the pieces that you all are putting together. So, because I think it's important that we stay lockstep with each other as we, do this work of pulling the recommendations together. So, thank you.
Yeah, and just as I think I may have said this in our working group and not the larger group, but I went ahead and purchased a couple domains where St. Louis Reparations.com and something else, I can't remember, where we're hoping that some of these narrative stories can live. And then Ms. Gwen, we are still working diligently around hoping to think about this sort of storytelling project as something that lives. Some of these personal narratives, something that really is an appeal to the larger conversation. Because I think it's, we can sort of talk about structural divestment in a tangible way. We can spend 100 pages talking about structural divestment in St. Louis, but we really want to show the impact that has had on individual people's families and neighborhoods. And so thinking about both the report as a resource, but then also that people can navigate these stories and this history in a digital format as well. Any other thoughts or questions? Kim, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna it's less about the substance, but more about the schedule. So I'm behind on what the work group schedules are. So you said Wednesdays?
Yeah, so the report working group is myself, Dr. Ross, and Professor Cunningham, and then the rest of the commission makes up the community engagement working group. So you would need to let us know which working group you're interested in, and then you'll be roped into the conversations.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or thoughts about the report or where we are right now? Okay, well, we're making progress, so we should celebrate that.
Yes.
So we have sort of a North Star that we're headed toward around what this report will be. We know that we have a timeline inside of that. And so our working group is a smaller working group, but we are mighty. And we're going to work hard to deliver something that I think the city will be proud of, that actually calls for the recommendations that we've been hearing in the public sphere, and also are grounded in a real assessment of the history and impact of policies in St. Louis. Reverend Anthony?
Dr. Ross may know about this. Was it finalized? The group from UMSL will be working with us. It was a group that Vernon had connected with.
No, I don't know much more than what Vernon shared. I don't know that much more.
Yeah, so Wally, who leads that group, is we are reaching out to him to join our next working group meeting. And so our working group may grow beyond the three of us. We are sort of anchoring the working group, but we are going to be bringing in different experts and people with capacity to lend their support up. So, our working group will be non-commission members in that way, but anchored by the three of us to make sure that we're hitting our benchmarks and goals. But yes, I have reached out to Wally to join our next working group meeting. Okay. Any other business? Oh, yes, there are other business that we needed to discuss. Anything else about the report before we move on to requests that we've gotten? Okay, great. So we have a couple requests, community requests for members of the commission. Ms. Gwen, do you want to speak to the one that you sent to the commission?
Yeah, I can't think of her name right now, but she's working with the Illinois Reparations Commission, and they're having a forum in East St. Louis High School. I don't have the date. I have to check my email. I did forward the flyer that she sent to everybody, so that has all the information about it. I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, here's the Reparations Commission right across the river. And I think it would be really good if someone could participate in that.
When is that scheduled?
I know it's on a Saturday. I sent out the flyer to everybody. I don't know if everybody got it.
Probably got it and probably got placed in.
The date is November 18th at 10 a.m. At East St. Louis High School in the auditorium. They have, and this is Tiffany Lee who has reached out to us. So it's Saturday, November 18th at 10 a.m. And I think that the request is to be a part of the panel discussion.
I think she wants us to talk about the St. Louis Commission's work.
Yeah, I'll be out of town, so unfortunately unavailable.
Yeah, same.
I am also unavailable on the 18th.
Yeah, I have to be in Philadelphia that day as well.
Ms. Winter,
Yeah.
you're not available?
Yeah, I'm not available either.
I would love to do it, but I have a conflict too. I mean, I would love to do that because I think it's really important.
Yeah. Any other takers? Reverend Anthony William?
I have a commitment myself.
I won't be able to.
Okay, yeah, so I think I can reach out to Tiffany and let her know that the commission members are unavailable. And give her some, like, maybe we can just have a pre-call to discuss any questions she may have about the commission. I can take lead on that, to at least give them some information that may help shape their questions and process for the event. Yeah, it's okay. We win some, we lose some. But hopefully they'll have other events before our commission sunsets that we can be a part of. I see that the person chairing the event is the vice chairman of the commission and founder of the Illinois Juneteenth Committee. So yeah, I think, there'll be continued work. And I do think that, the flyer says, and I'll bump this back up, but it talks about slavery, race riots, and Jim Crow. It's an equity forum about shaping our future together. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great event, and we should definitely amplify it to the general public. I mean, we're doing that now, but also we should continue to do so for folks in the metro area. Because I think, if we need to have this conversation regionally, we need to have it statewide, we need to have it nationally. So as many commissions that pop up as possible are good things. So we want to be in support. But I will take on reaching out to Tiffany specifically. Any other business that we needed to discuss this evening?
Well, we're going to talk about the that summit, Race Equity Summit.
The Equity Summit that is this week.
That is this week.
Yes.
So I was traveling, I missed a lot of emails. And so No change in anything in the format. Everything's
No,
the same.
you're good to go, Dr. Ross. A lot of emails did go since Monday. A lot of emails have come out, but the presentation was shared with you in an email, I think yesterday. So you can see that.
Okay.
And the format was shared in the email too.
Okay.
And I can send it to you one more time if you want.
Nope, don't send it. No more emails.
But we should be good to go for Friday.
Okay, great.
Can I ask a quick practical question about that? I mean, thank you for preparing the presentation, which looks great. Are we able to upload that for the session, or do they already have it and it's going to be uploaded? I'm just asking, if I change one slide tomorrow afternoon, is that too late to make a change, or?
No, you can make a change.
Okay.
They have it, but we can send it to them again. Please
Okay.
don't do it Friday morning. If it's
No,
tomorrow,
I will not, but
okay.
I may not, I won't create a lot of effort for anyone. I just didn't know if it was possible or not.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thanks.
Great. The commission is outside, doing wonderful work, and I hope that event is successful. And thanks for all who are taking lead on that. And should feel free to say, like, what we said now is public, and so we can talk about sort of our origins of what we are thinking about in the report. This is publicized on YouTube, and so we are in process and progress together. That's you, Dr. Ross.
Thank you.
Any other business that we need to discuss ahead of next week's meeting? Okay. Well, then yes.
I just have one more thing since I didn't know if Dr. Ross, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you weren't in the meeting when we did a debrief from the last meeting, and I just didn't know if there was anything else, any feedback that you had from the debrief for us before we wrap.
No. I think Kayla covered everything.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Can we have a motion to end this meeting?
Moved for German.
Okay. It was moved by Dr. Ross and seconded by Delisha. We will see you, or I will not see you next week, but I'll be watching very excitedly for our 8th public meeting. And so thank you all so much for continuing to be a part of this process. And let's have our final in-person meeting of 2023.
Great.
Wish you all the
Thank
best.
you.
Have a good evening,
Yeah.
everyone.
See you later.
Good night.